Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're really diving into a topic with a lot of nuance, how traumatic events can impact children and teenagers on the autism spectrum. We're going to be unpacking this article from Cheapaba that you sent over that offers guidance for parents and caregivers. It's a really fascinating look at this.
It is, and it's such an important topic. And, we need to approach this with sensitivity because autistic individuals often process and react to trauma differently than neurotypical individuals.
Yeah, we often hear about the classic signs of trauma, like the fear, the sadness, the anger, but this article you shared really challenges those assumptions when it comes to autistic kids.
It does, you're right. While those common reactions might be present, trauma can manifest in ways that might initially seem unrelated to the event itself. You know, it's about understanding how trauma intertwines with the existing sensory sensitivities, communication styles, and emotional regulation that are often part of the autistic experience.
So let's unpack that a bit because the article lists unusual play patterns as one potential sign.
Yeah.
What does that actually look like and what might it be telling us?
Okay, so imagine a child who loves building elaborate structures with blocks, right?
Right.
After a traumatic event, their play might become repetitive or focused on constructing walls or enclosures.
Interesting.
It could be their way of, creating a sense of safety and control in a world that suddenly feels very unpredictable.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense. It's not just play, it's their way of processing what they're going through and trying to regain a sense of agency.
Exactly, and that need to regain control can manifest in other ways too, like an intensification of special interests. It's not just seeking comfort, it's about immersing themselves in something predictable and familiar when everything else feels really chaotic.
That's really insightful. The article also mentions something pretty heartbreaking, developmental regression. Can you explain that a bit further?
Yeah, so this can be incredibly difficult for parents and caregivers to witness. It's where a child might suddenly forget skills they'd already mastered, like using utensils or dressing themselves.
Wow.
And it's like the trauma creates this ripple effect, disrupting their sense of safety and security, which can really impact their ability to learn, grow, and engage with the world the way they did before.
It sounds like so much of what we've talked about so far seems to center around communication, or rather, the unique ways autistic children communicate their distress when words fail.
Absolutely. Autistic children may have difficulty articulating their feelings verbally. So these behavioral changes, however subtle they might seem, become their primary language, recognizing that is crucial for any parent or caregiver.
So before the break, we were talking about recognizing the signs of trauma in autistic children. And now let's shift gears a little bit to what the article calls practical strategies. What really resonated with you in that section?
Honestly, the emphasis on clear and direct communication, it seems kind of counterintuitive at first. Wouldn't you want to shield a child from those difficult topics? But for autistic children, honesty and simplicity can be incredibly grounding.
It's about providing that sense of predictability that they really thrive on, right? Like sugarcoating or avoiding the issue could actually create more confusion and anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And this is where the article introduces a really powerful tool, social stories.
Okay.
These visual aids use simple language and images to help autistic children process information, especially challenging or abstract concepts like trauma.
So it's like creating a visual roadmap for them, making the unfamiliar feel more manageable.
Precisely. Like, let's say a child is about to experience a major change, like a move to a new house, right?
Right.
A social story could actually break down that process into manageable steps, packing boxes, saying goodbye, traveling to the new home, unpacking, with clear, relatable visuals accompanying each step. And this can help reduce anxiety by providing that sense of predictability and control.
That makes a lot of sense. The article also talks about encouraging questions and providing honest, age-appropriate answers. That seems like a bit of a tightrope walk sometimes. How do you strike that balance?
It is a bit of a balance. It's about being truthful while considering the child's developmental stage, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't overwhelm a 5-year-old with complex explanations, but you also wouldn't dismiss their concerns either.
Right.
It's about meeting them where they are, validating their feelings, and providing information in a way that they can understand.
And, sometimes even with the best intentions, we stumble through explanations even as adults.
Oh, absolutely.
It makes you realize how important clear communication really is for everyone, not just autistic children.
Absolutely. Patience and understanding are key both for ourselves and the children in our lives.
Speaking of creating a sense of stability, the article really emphasizes routines, especially after a traumatic event. What's the reasoning behind that?
Well, trauma disrupts our sense of order and predictability. It throws everything into chaos.
Right.
And for autistic children who rely on routines to navigate their world, that disruption can be especially unsettling. Routines really do become these anchors of stability in their lives.
It's like those routines, consistent meal times,
Yeah.
familiar bedtime rituals, predictable activities. They kind of become safe havens in the midst of all the emotional turmoil.
Exactly. They provide sense of control and normalcy when everything else feels off balance.
We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into how trauma can really uniquely affect autistic children. From recognizing those often subtle signs to exploring these practical strategies for parents and caregivers. But as we kind of move into this final part of our exploration, one thing that really struck me from the article was that recovering from trauma, it isn't a quick fix, it's a journey.
It is. You're absolutely right. The article makes it clear that supporting a child through trauma requires that ongoing effort, that long-term perspective.
Mm.
It's about fostering resilience, not just putting on a Band-Aid.
And sometimes that means recognizing when it's time to get professional help, right?
Absolutely. Parents and caregivers, they often shoulder so much already. And, navigating the world of therapy and support services can feel really overwhelming in itself. But it's crucial to remember that you don't have to go it alone. Seeking out those specialists who understand both trauma and the unique needs of autistic individuals can make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's about finding those experts who can provide that tailored support that really resonates with the child's communication style, their sensory sensitivities, and their individual strengths.
Exactly. And just as important as seeking professional help is that emphasis the article has on self-care for parents and caregivers.
That's a point I think we all need to hear more often. It's so easy to get caught up in caring for others that we kind of neglect our own well-being.
And it's not selfish. It's essential. You can't pour from an empty cup, as they say. The article reminds us that taking time for yourself, whether it's a quiet walk, a few minutes of meditation, or even just connecting with a supportive friend, it allows you to be more present and patient for your child.
And sometimes that support network, friends, family, even those online communities can really be a lifeline. It's a reminder that you're not alone in the challenges and the joys of raising an autistic child, especially after they experience trauma.
It is. It's about sharing experiences, seeking advice, and, offering each other encouragement along the way.
This deep dive has been incredibly eye-opening. We've been unpacking this article from Cheapaba about understanding how trauma affects autistic children. We covered everything from recognizing those often hidden signs of trauma to exploring those practical communication strategies and the power of routine. And we even touched on the importance of self-care for those parents and caregivers, which we could all use a little bit more of.
We could. And as we wrap up this deep dive, I really hope our listeners are walking away with a sense of empowerment that they're equipped with not just knowledge, but also practical tools and a reminder that they're not alone on this journey. Trauma, while incredibly challenging, can also be a catalyst for growth.
That's a powerful message to end on. By approaching our children with compassion, understanding, and a willingness to adapt our support based on their individual needs, we can help them not just heal, but thrive. And to our listener, thank you for bringing this incredibly important topic to the deep dive. We hope this exploration has given you some valuable insights to carry with you. Until next time, keep asking those curious questions and keep diving deeper into the topics that matter most.